Okay, we're up on the bench now, and we're just going to quickly strip down the air filter and get to the carburetor. So on this particular model, some will vary. Fuel cap off, the butterflies for the top of the air filter. I like to keep all my parts in a container. You don't want to lose them, all the small parts. Pull off your air filter cover, air filter itself. Okay, there's a couple of small washers on top of the air filter. You don't want to lose those. Put those aside. Okay, put your fuel cap back on. These are 10mm nuts. Dark here, we might put some light on the situation. That should help. And got a third bolt underneath. Get that off. You got to pull this forward. Now there is a hose to bypass from the engine. Unburnt gases go back into the carburetor, so you just pull that off. So you've got that now. To the side. This has got to go back in reverse order, so try and remember where everything goes. Alright, fuel line. Fuel will leak as soon as we pull the fuel line. Full tank of gas. If you want to empty it beforehand, it's probably a good idea. I'm not going to, because I like to just get my pair of multi-grips and not too tight, and just grab the hose, not the tube, and squeeze down on that, pull that fuel line off. That will gush fuel if you don't clamp it, because it's just gravity fed from the fuel tank, okay, into the carburetor. Now we can see the carburetor. Okay, we've removed the air filter, and we can see the carburetor. We can see the linkages for the throttle, the spring, and the chokes there. Okay, so we're just going to remove this carburetor and see what we can find. These are the two sleeves holding the air filter. We should be able to pull this carburetor. It's on these studs that are bolted to the casing through here, so we want to see if we can. There's also a gasket. I'm going to add a gasket. I'll just see if we can. There we go. So you can see the carburetor just slides off there. We need to get it off these studs. The linkages only travel so far. As you can see, it jams just there, and we could pull it more and potentially bend it. We don't want to do that. And I can also see on this particular model there's also the kill switch. I don't know if you can quite see that kill switch on there, so that when you press it all the way, that's the off button right there. So that's on the, we should be able to disconnect, it's on the back of this gasket that's connected here. So what we're going to do there, let's see if we can just leave that You don't want to break that paper gasket. It looks like it's okay. If I pull on that, we're up for a gasket kit. It's going to tear off, and we're up for a gasket kit. We don't really want to do that. So what we're going to do is try and it's just a clip holding that. It's just a clip holding that cable onto the kill switch through the card for the gasket. Don't want to tear that. So we've just been able to squeeze that. Okay, so we're still not free. What's happening now? It's binding. If I pull it much further, I'm going to bend the control lever for the choke. Don't really want to do that. So we've got a couple of more bolts here that I can loosen. So this is a governing plate for that. I'm just going to loosen that. It's another 10 mil. This is on pretty tight. We're loosening the governing plate there, and there's a 10 mil bolt. You want to keep those. Now that plate's loose. Still holding. There's another bolt. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, we're back again. We're just going to remove that 10 mil bolt. It's a really awkward position, so put the power drill on it, the socket. Now we just loosened it. I don't really want to take it off. See if we can loosen enough to get a bit of leverage. Yes, and there she goes. So we've got our carburetor loose now, and if we just put that there. Okay, we've got our pointy nose pliers with the throttle linkage. Now we should be able to just pop that off, and the spring is the same. We should be able to just pop that off as well. And you can see you need to remember where these came from. We've also got, this is the choke. So we need to just disconnect the choke. Now you've got to remember how that goes on, so I'm just going to put it back exactly how it was. Right, got a bit of fuel leaking there already. Alright, you can see the gasket. So we've got a paper gasket here. We've also got the plastic seat that fits onto the casing. Alright, so we need to clean that up as well before we put this back together. I can go two ways with this. This looks pretty clean in here. It all looks reasonably clean. So what we can do now is just have a look at the carburetor in detail. Alright, so we'll just pause for a minute and we'll lay out the carburetor. Okie dokie, so we've got our carburetor now. It looks in pretty good nick, but inside could be a different story. We're just going to, I think these are all 10 mil. We're going to just drop the bottom of the, just going to drop the float. Okay, see the float, it's a bit dirty inside. No. Alrighty. Now I see a troubling development there, and I can see where our fuel leak potentially is coming from here. The O-ring on the float is deteriorated, if you can see it there. The O-ring on the float is deteriorated and it's stretched out of position. Okay. You can see that there's no way that's going back on, that's buggered. Alright, so we've got a buggered O-ring on the bowl or the float, and while we're here, I mean, we'll see about getting spare parts. They're difficult to get, but we'll see how we go. While we're here, we'll pull the pin. Pull the pin on the float. That removes the float. And you'll see the pin and the spring there. Alright. It goes in there. So that actually looks very good. The carburetor looks remarkably clean. And when I look down inside, it looks very clean. When I look down inside the main jet in there, again, that looks very clean. I get that main jet out, which I don't think is the problem. You need to get a screwdriver. That's a good fit. Screw that. Here, I'm going to strip that. There's our main jet. It looks blocked. Okay, so the main jet, well, you can see that, but the main jet there is blocked as well. I'll clean that out. There is also the seat. Seat just slides up in there, and if we look at that seat, it's not bad. It just needs a clean up. Okay, so what I can take from that is we need to clean the main jet and the seat, and we need a new O-ring, which doesn't sound, it's not expensive, but the problem is finding the actual part is the problem. Okay, it's quite a big O-ring. I won't have one of those that size. Finding it's got to be a perfect match, and so that's going to be a challenge. It's probably the worst case scenario. Well, yeah, that's the worst case scenario for us, unfortunately, other than a float being damaged, which would have been the death of the carburetor. I would have bought a new carburetor, but I will attempt to get a new O-ring now. Okay, we'll pause it from there. We'll come back to it and see how I go finding spare parts.